Hey,
Bam.
we're live.
Here I
Um,
am.
Here you are. That's that's Glenn Ambrose. I'm Ben Barber. Nice to meet you guys. If
Ben
you
Barber.
don't know who we are already, and this is a live Q&A. So if you have questions that you would like to ask a life coach, you can type those in the comments, and Glenn will go ahead and answer those questions. Um, and first, I would just like to say, hey, Sarah. And if you just want to say hi,
Hey,
you can say
Sarah.
hi too. That's always great. Um, so yeah, so if you have questions we want to answer, well, Glenn wants to answer them. I want to just sit here and look pretty with my hat on indoors. Hello, Katrina. Uh, this is a lot of fun. So, Glenn, first, tell us about your experience so far doing this live Q&A type situation, because we've had a pretty good response to it so far.
Yeah, I love it. I've always kind of said that I just shut my brain off and let the information flow. and and that's kind of the only thing that I think I do well. The rest isn't really up to me. So this gives me a live platform to do it, which there's no other way. I can't. There's no thinking about things. It's just information flowing. So which I feed off of. So as the information flows through me, I just get more energy. So I get all jacked up by the end of these things. So so I love it.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So one question that we got a lot of this week, that a lot of people had been asking, and not even just in our realm of this, but all over, is what do you do? Like some very basic, very generic stuff, or as detailed as you want to go, when everything seems so terrible, and it's hard to find a foothold and find some hope and some positivity. I know that you yourself have been sharing a ton of positive news stories. So what do you do in a situation like right now, where there's so many negative things that I can't list them, or we'd be here all day?
Yeah, I think it's what we choose to focus on. Everything's energy. So it's if we choose to focus on the problem's going to expand. It's if we focus on the solution will expand. So I try to focus on the solution. Are there bad things happening during the riots? Yes, but there's a large majority of good things happening. There's more positive protesting than there is destructive protesting, and yet everybody's spending their time talking about the destruction. And it's like, well, it doesn't help it. It does, I mean, everybody's aware that it's happening, so like the awareness is out there, so we know, okay, mission accomplished. Everyone knows. But focusing on it doesn't help. So that's why I was sharing so many positive stories. It's just share positive, so we can expand that. And I know it sounds like woo woo and ethereal and all this stuff, but I believe it to be true. And lots of people have throughout history. It's Mother Teresa got invited to a anti-war rally and said she wouldn't go, but if you have a pro-peace rally, she'd be the first one there. She understood if you give energy to the topic, it expands. So if I go to an anti-war rally, even if it's it's energy towards war, and war expands. And we've seen this as in real life examples. Whatever we've declared war on has expanded. We declared the war on drugs in the 80s. It expanded. War on poverty expanded. Whatever we declare war on expands, because we're putting energy to the problem, not the solution. So I think, everybody needs to find their own way of what works for them as far as what putting energy towards the solution looks like. It might be sharing on social media, it might be signing petitions, it might be donating to causes that can help the situation. But if we stay focused on the solution, we're going to get to the solution. The problem is most people get caught up focusing on the problems, and and then we discuss them, which this is my work. My work is to not get frustrated when I see everybody discussing the problems over and over and over and over and over and over again, because it doesn't do anything except keeps you stuck in the problem and prevents you from seeking the solution. So there.
How do you continue to talk about the solution when other people continue to talk about the problem? Like, so for example, and we have a question that we're going to get to in a second. But when you are, so for example, I do some work with the Lieutenant Governor's office here in Rhode Island, and we have had on the last couple of nights we've had on Black Lives Matter leaders in Rhode Island, and they have talked about, they are solution based, like they like literally he's just like, I just want to speak to the lieutenant, I just want to speak to the governor, the actual governor of the state, and like these are the things that we think would help with and but everybody else is wanting to focus on the issue, the instead of the solution. How do you, when you're trying to come up with a solution and no one is willing to talk to you about it, how do you, like, what do you do?
Well, I think we need to, this is when we need to be leaders as much as possible and stay focused, like, I mean, I'm not perfect at it. Sometimes I'll take the bait and, somebody dangles something shiny that I think that I can really explain to them very briefly and quickly, and then they'll be on the same page as me. And I go, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And then also next thing I know, it's 20 minutes later and I've been talking about the problem. It's like, darn it, I got caught up. That's going to happen. But I think, this is what leaders look like. I mean, if we look, let's use history, as our teacher. I mean, if you look at the leaders that have actually accomplished great things, they stayed focused on the solution. MLK did a wonderful job, so it's like, there was plenty of people yelling, destroy, fight, and all this stuff. And he went, no solution, no peace, no solution. Nelson Mandela did the same thing. Gandhi did the same thing. It's about stepping up and being leaders and holding people accountable. The more we get caught up and drawn off the topic, the less likely we're going to find a solution. And, somebody needs to do that, and if, like if we have, and I believe I'll use your example, you have these leaders with the Black Lives Matter group that have very specific solution-based comments. So they need to stay focused on that. And, and if anybody dangles anything else in front of them, they need to push it aside. And hopefully our governmental representatives that can help, that are supposed to be meeting them and actually accomplishing stuff, will do the same thing. And if one side is not doing it, you got to hold them there. It's like, think about two people, I mean, everybody has experienced this, so yeah, we're talking about a big thing in a macrocosm, but it's the same in the microcosm. So everybody has been in a relationship with a romantic partner or a friend where you're arguing about something, then they bring something else in. If you take the bait, you're going to be arguing for 2 more days about stuff that has nothing to do with the original issue. We need to learn to stay on topic and, be clear mentally instead of letting the anger cloud our vision, the emotion cloud our vision and pull us off what the question is. We can solve anything. We can solve anything if we actually attempt to. The problem is in recent history, we haven't attempted to. We've been too busy trying to be right in an argument. We've been too busy trying to win an argument than we have been to spend time actually walking towards a solution and implementing it. That's why, that's why things are the same. That's why, I noticed that 17 years ago when I woke up, I was like, hey, I have a new brain. Maybe I'll look at politics. Maybe I could be of service. And I looked and I was like, oh my God, the same people are arguing about the same things that they were 20 years ago. Nothing's changed. They're just busy arguing. And as long as somebody goes, no, this one's right. No, this one's right. They can continue to argue and nothing ever gets done. Nobody ever walks towards a solution. They just get busy arguing about which solution they think is better. And that's how nothing ever changes,
Carolyn says, how can I not let external factors, media, friends question who I am as a person? This is pertaining to the current events.
You can't. So you don't have control over other people questioning who you are as a person. That's their stuff. What you have control over is your life. Like, I don't mind people questioning me. You can question me all you want. They're not going to change me, So like I have to, this is a good example of why even in this situation, all work is self-work. That's one of the things I say the most. Whenever you're looking at the world and going, I don't know what to do, or looking at a situation going, I don't know what to do out there. I don't know what's going on out there. There's one finger pointing out and there's three pointing back at you. It's 3 times more important you focus on yourself than what's going on externally. So if you anchor down, if you spend some time and just anchor into checking your soul and viewing your situation and your outlook on things and bring clarity within yourself, clarity based in love, because all true clarity is based in love. So, and we really get strong in our position and we're able to sit in it. Then if somebody comes in and says, you're wrong, you go, no. Like, nobody has power over us. We give them power over us, and the media sure doesn't have any power. Just shut the media off. That's easy answer. I haven't watched the news in 17 years and I know exactly what's going on. So we're inundated with it. We don't need to know. I love that conversation that I have with people. They go, yeah, but we should watch the news. I go, why? Well, because we need to know. Why? Well, because it's important. Why? Well, we don't want to not know. Why? There's no answer. It just goes on in loops. Like we could watch. I'm exposed to probably a 30-second of the information that everybody else is, and I know exactly what's going on. So we don't need to be inundated with that. It doesn't help us. It just brings us down. So really a lot of it is just anchoring in yourself and changing conversations. I mean, we met at the gym many years ago, and that's a public environment. So there was many times people got to know me at that gym, and like people would walk up and they'd start talking about something negative, and I'd be like, they'd be like, what do you think? You're like, I don't really worry about stuff like that. I'd be like, what do you mean? Just don't really get into it. And I walk away. This is smaller stuff than what's going on right now, obviously, but just day-to-day stuff. And people started figuring out that when they wanted to bitch and complain about the world, I wasn't the one to come to, because there was no feedback. It was frustrating for them. They want to, let's have a real hyped up conversation, and they wouldn't get that out of me. So it's, and when you're talking to your friends, you can just be honest. We always try to figure out words to figure out a difficult situation. Let's try honesty. So if your friends are going, yeah, but we should talk about this, and did you hear about that? And you just go, you know what? That just drags me down. I'm really trying to stay positive so I can stay solution based. I don't really want to discuss that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's I just don't want to. Would you like to talk about something else? Change the subject. We have the ability to do that.
Absolutely. Sarah, who is probably the number one watcher of this show, says, I have a question. How do I know when I need to talk about something that is negatively affecting me versus not fueling the energy to it? I'm not talking about current events.
Well, if it keeps coming up, that's a good way. I mean, if something's negatively affecting you, it's going to keep coming up. Or, another thing is patterns really tell us. So in one way, if it keeps coming up, that's a pattern and needs to be talked about. The other way to monitor it is if you keep talking about it, then you're just talking about it. You're not you're not solving anything. We have to have conscious points to a conversation. And a lot of times we like just talking about stuff, because what happens when we get stuff off of our chest is a little bit of a release. So we feel like we've done something well because we're feeling that positive feedback. But that's a loop. If you never change anything, that's a problem. It's like throwing up. You feel better. So you throw up all your emotional puke and then you feel better. And then nothing's changed. So it's the same batch of emotional puke. You throw it up again, you feel better, and then it comes back up. You're not solving anything, So
Thank you for the analogy.
Yeah, if you're going to talk about something, make the point of talking about it to solve it. I mean, you can get it off your chest. Sometimes we just need to be heard. Sometimes something's bothering us and we just want to get it off. That happens once.
Sarah retorted, then they throw out the ostrich buries its head in the sand when we say we want to stay positive.
And that's their prerogative.
So if I understand, it's okay to have a discussion with someone to get it out, but then just leave it alone?
Well, I think there's two things. It's like, if you need to get something off your chest, that's not really a discussion. That's somebody listening to you, And so guys are not good at this, and I'm a life coach and a guy, so I'm doubly bad. So when I'm in a relationship, I learned that, that sometimes I should just allow somebody to be heard. That's all they need, to get something off their chest.
Yeah.
So I tell, if I get into a relationship with a woman, I tell them like, hey, if you need me to just listen, please tell me ahead of time, because that's not my go-to. I'm going to try to fix it. It's what I do. So there is an aspect of like, if you just need to be heard and you just need somebody to listen to you, tell them that. And then get it off your chest. And, okay, now it's out of me. I feel better. Okay. If it comes back up again, then there's a problem with the way you're viewing it. Most things that trigger negative emotions need to be reframed. That's why they're triggering negative emotions. So when you look at something, most often it's the victim mentality, but in any negative way, it triggers a negative emotion. As long as you are looking at something like it's purely negative, it's going to continue to trigger negative emotion inside of you. Every time you think about it, every time you're reminded of it. So you need to reframe it in a way that you're not a victim, So, I'll try to do a quick example. So it's because a lot of people aren't used to reframing. So one time I had this big problem with child support at the end of the child support days. And I got very upset because it was obvious that the child support person was not doing their job and trying to get out of it. And I was frustrated. And that pissed me off. And then afterwards I was sitting there and I blew off a little steam. And then I said, Glenn, do you want to stay angry about this? And at first I was like, hell yeah. And then after I burned off a little more steam, I went, no, of course I don't want to walk around angry about this for the rest of my life. So I looked at it and I went, the child support system is made to hunt down deadbeat dads. It's his primary purpose, and that's how it was designed. So So, that it's not set up for other stuff. So it doesn't do other stuff real well. So, okay, good. This guy that was handling my case, he really seemed like he was probably overworked, probably underpaid, just wanted to get me off the phone and preferably retire someday. Probably. He sounded miserable. So it probably had nothing to do with me. It was just this guy's in a tough job with people lying and manipulating and yelling at him all day, and he just wanted to get off the damn phone. I get it, and then once I reframed it where I wasn't this victim and I could just accept the situation as it was, and I'm not a victim of it, now all of a sudden it doesn't trigger the negative emotion every time I think about it.
So Sarah just had a follow-up that I think is really interesting. No, but if someone is acting sketchy, is it okay to share it with someone to get it out and get input on how to handle it? I just didn't know if I'd be fueling the sketchy behavior by talking about it. So I think she means, like, Glenn, if you're being sketchy to me, right, is it okay if I go talk to Dave about it? And, like, is me talking to Dave about how you're being sketchy, is that fueling this relationship here where I'm allowing you to be more sketchy because I'm complaining or I'm talking about it over here to sort of get it out?
No,
Sarah, if I'm way off base, let me know. And also, we got more questions. We might go more than a half hour if that's okay with you, Glenn.
Sure. So yeah, so it's like no, it's fine to get outside help. If nobody could talk about any problems, I wouldn't have a job. So it is okay to discuss things, and getting other perspectives is often helpful. The only time, I will throw a little caveat out there, the only time you have to be careful, you got it, Ben. The only time you got to be careful is I think people do this too much in relationships, namely marriages and serious relationships. A lot of times what happens is we go to our friends and family and complain about our spouse. That's different. And I don't think that that's real healthy because, one, they're only getting your side of the story. Two, they love and care for you, and all they want to do is support you. So if you go, he's being a jerk, first thing they're going to do is go, yup.
So when it fuels resentment, but it also fuels resentment in you.
Right. So that's the caveat. You got to watch out with that stuff. The Zim Zum of Love is an excellent relationship book where they address that. And they say, you need to have respect in a relationship. You shouldn't be going to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. And we go to people who love us because we think we can trust them. But those often are the worst ones to go to because all they're going to do is they don't want to see us hurting. So they're going to back us in whatever we say. And they're not going to cut through the BS and give us a straight shot a lot of times. So, a lot of times I think, I think they recommend in the book getting some professional help, like a marriage counselor or something, as opposed to getting advice from all your friends, like you think you're pissed off at your spouse before you go out drinking with your friends.
Yeah.
You're going to be really pissed off at your spouse when you're done,
And that's the Zim Zam of Love by Rob Bell, is it?
Rob and Kristen Bell.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you do get it, it's really good on audio because Rob reads his part and Kristen reads her parts.
Oh, so nice.
I really enjoyed it on audio.
What resources or tools do you have to understand more about my ego and how to not let the egoic thoughts affect me?
Well, that's the question of the day, right?
If you're looking for actual resources, this is a good one.
Yes. Yeah, really. Get my book. I believe
really... chapter 2 is ego versus soul or something.
Mm-hmm. And I've done a lot of podcasts on that. You can search the podcast, probably search anything with the word ego in it or something. But yeah, any tools to
it's part 3. It's an entire section of the book.
Okay. And how many? There's only 3 parts to the book, right?
Yeah.
So it's a substantial section. Yeah, what was the question again? Just I'll try to give her a quick answer.
Yeah, it's what resources or tools do you have to understand more about my ego and how to not let the ego thoughts affect me?
Well, just a brief little shot is like understand, like usually we fight the ego. And you know how I said earlier, whatever we declare war on expands. Like we got to stop fighting. You're welcome, Catherine. So we got to stop fighting things. Our ego is not our enemy. Neither is anything else that's part of us that's innate. You know, an ego has a purpose. It's supposed to be our warning system. It's supposed to go, hey, is there danger over there? You know, like, hey, is that a tiger? You know, that's what it was supposed to do. But we've gotten rid of so much physical danger in our society. Now it just goes, hey, did you forget the broccoli? Hey, did you like it just, and it's taken us over. We don't know that it's a tool. We think it's our actual brain. We think it's our thoughts. We think it's us. We're so identified with our ego that we think it's us, and it's not us. It's just a warning system. And what does a warning system do? It looks for danger. A warning system isn't going to look for crap, like wonderful stuff. It looks for danger. So of course it's usually negative. So but it's supposed to go like a motion detector light. It's supposed to go off, go, hey, watch out. And we're supposed to look and go, what? Oh, no, that's nothing. We don't have to worry about it. And then dismiss the thought and go on with our lives. Or, hey, watch out. Oh my God, there is some danger there. Thank you for warning me. And we take action and we deal with it. You know, but instead it goes, hey, watch out. We go, oh my God, there must be a problem. What's the problem? This is the problem. Oh my God, I have a problem. I must obsess over this problem. I'm consumed by this problem. I have to talk to somebody about my problem. And we think everything it says is real. And it's not. It's just a warning system. It has no reasoning capabilities. It's our job to look at the message and determine whether it's a danger or whether we can dismiss it.
I swear to God, you want to do this show 5 days a week. You're so amped up 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in. What is your view? What is your view on
drugs for this?
What is your view on using universal law and how to use it properly to create what we desire? That's Brian, right?
Yes.
Is he talking about manifesting there?
Yeah. So,
okay.
So I mean, to me, you know, my manifesting, manifesting, I thought was a little bit like, I always felt there was something extra other than because manifesting information is everywhere. You know, it's it's the most popular topic in spirituality, and self-help for that matter. So I always felt there was something missing, and I kind of always thought kind of knew what it was. And finally I came across it, and I was like, yes, this is so there's so much manifesting information out there. I'm not even going to get into all that. I'm going to give you the little piece that I think most people are missing. And that piece is, Tolle does a nice job explaining it, which he just released a free 3-part course. So I assume you can probably still get access to it because he just released it last week and it's free. But what Tolle talks about is that we got to stop. Don't even think about manifesting. Think about connection first, because everybody's running around trying to see if they can get an extra $500 in their mailbox or a new car or all this stuff. And it's just, that's not what life's about. So we're missing the point. It's just one spiritual law in many. So if he says, really focus on your connection first, your connection to source, connect. So, because otherwise you're going to be spending so much energy trying to manifest that eventually it's going to work sometimes and sometimes it won't. But it's just really not powerful and it's not that effective. If you really want to be effective at it, you got to focus on connection first. Once you're connected, half the really deeply, firmly connected, half the stuff you want to manifest, you're not even going to want to anymore. Because it's not even important, and you're going to see that, and you're going to be fulfilled and focused on your connection. But if there is something which there probably will be, if there are things that you want to manifest, well, which there definitely will be as time goes on, when you do come across something that you want to manifest, you're going to manifest with the power of your source coming through you. And that is highly effective. That is where it's really at. And so instead of doing these mind game tools and this visualization tools and attaching emotion to your visualization and all this stuff, some of that stuff works some of the time, and sometimes it doesn't. And there's it's ups and downs with that stuff. But if everything starts with the beginning, start with your connection. That is the most important thing. And then if you choose through that connection to manifest something, you're going to be really naturally good at it. So that's my little difference.
Hello, buddy. So, all right, we have a couple more questions. And number one is, I had a question that I had written down that somebody asked throughout the week. And it was about, I have an issue with deflecting when people try to talk about something serious. My go-to is always to try to cheer them up and make them happy, and I have an issue letting people be where they are. How can I work on this?
Well, awareness is the first step. Yeah, well, you gotta, I guess really you have to understand that you're not helping them. Like usually what people usually do in this situation is when they say I'm trying to cheer them up, it's usually in a, what we call a supportive way, which means I'm so sorry. This shouldn't be happening to you. You poor thing. It's not fair. I feel so bad for you, which is the worst thing that we can do, because basically what we're doing is we're reinforcing the victim mindset. We're saying, you poor thing, this isn't your fault. Life just kicked you in the head and there's nothing you can do about it, and you have no control over your life. And for the moment, they're feeling a little bit better because you're comforting them. But basically what you're doing is you're reinforcing the fact that they have no control over their lives and they have basically no hope for happiness ever. That's the actual meaning of your message. So if, this is why I have few friends, because I can't, of course I can let people vent and I can be there for people to some degree and stuff. But anybody that spends any amount of time knows that I just don't have, I don't consider that being a good friend to me. If somebody, complains for a half an hour, it's like we're gonna have to get to the solution. I just can't sit in the
what if you're I completely agree with you and understand. I personally deflect with humor. And that's my thing, is like when you try to make somebody laugh when they're having a hard time instead of letting them be where they are. What do you like? How do you?
It's so I think what we're saying we have to take with a grain of salt, because every situation is different. And to be quite honest with you, when the first time the word deflection came out, the first thing that I thought of was good. Because there is an aspect of deflection that can be better than diving into the problem. Like, we don't have to dive into everybody's problem. That's my job. So, sometimes pausing and not getting into it with people is the best thing that you can do. So, there is that aspect. But, I've held my own workshops. I've been to my friend Brian Reed's workshops at my place, my friend Carrie Cudmore's workshops, and other workshops of bigger spiritual leaders that are more popular, global and all this. I've seen, and every time I've been in, I respect those people and I respect how they do stuff. And every time I've been in that situation with somebody that I consider a good workshop leader, they've all done the same thing, and they've allowed that person to have their experience. like if emotion is coming up, if they're triggered, we need to feel that and not run from it. We're so taught to run from uncomfortable feelings. That's one of the biggest spiritual things we can do. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Understand that just because you're experiencing something that you don't enjoy going through your body doesn't mean that you have to stop experiencing it. It'll pass. And that's how we release trapped emotion, by allowing ourselves to experience it so it can release. So most of the suffering comes with our resistance to the feelings that we're having. Once we relax and allow ourselves to feel it, then it's like, oh, well, I have tension in my chest. It's moving up to my temples. It's just physical sensations. It's not that horrible. It's when we're going, I shouldn't be feeling this. This is horrible. Oh my God, I feel it's so much pain. It's our resistance to it that causes most of the uncomfortability. So when we learn to relax into it, it's a lot healthier. So
thank you very much.
There's a lot of kind of parts to that, and I'm not even going to try to sew them back up.
The greatest comment that we've had yet so far.
Yes, buddy. I'm from Gardner, hey. Wicked cool. I'm from Gardner too, hey.
But he also says, who do you recommend to read or listen to? I heard you say Eckhart Tolle. I like Wayne Dyer. Side note, you went to school with my sister, Lisa.
Yeah, I know who you are, buddy. You don't have to explain me. Buddy was actually, I'm going to just take a second on this. Buddy actually explained to me what happened that I did in a rage blackout once because I didn't know. And he explained it to me a couple weeks later. I still remember that, buddy.
Here, buddy.
Yeah.
I recommend you read and listen to Glenn.
Yeah, listen to my podcast, buddy. So Eckhart Tolle, some of my favorites are Tolle, Michael Singer, his book, The Untethered Soul and the Surrender Experiment. And also Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements is one of my favorite books. Tolle, The Power of Now. Michael Bernard Beckwith is one of my favorite teachers. Pema Chodron is great. There's so many of them. There's a lot of great teachers out there.
I like that I held up the book at that moment. That you said that.
Glenn Ambrose is wicked good. Hey.
He is. Kate says, hi, can you give examples for connection? Thanks.
Tools for connection. Yeah, I mean, meditation, becoming still. It's like, so one thing, meditation, a lot of people focus on stilling their mind, which is fine. Stilling their mind is one aspect of that. But if you still your mind and you pay attention to your body, you're going to notice a pleasurable sensation. There's a stillness, a peacefulness. You might consider it love, contentment. You can, different people can use different words to describe it, but there's a pleasurable feeling in your body, and that is connection. And, so like you can either still your mind and notice that you're feeling that, or you can just put your attention on your body and not even worry about what your mind is doing and just focus on your heart. And sometimes I'm just like, I need to feel you. I need to feel you. Please let me feel you. And then all of a sudden, and I get still and still and still. And then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, okay, there you are. That's my connection. And then when you feel it, play with it. See how long you can hold on to it. Like, you could open your eyes and see if you can keep it while your eyes are open. Move your hand. Oh, I'm starting to lose it. It's getting less. I'll put my hand back. Okay. Now it's strong again. Okay. Now I'll try to move my hand all the way over slowly without losing it. Oh, okay. You can do stuff like that. I used to do it while driving. I just get that feeling. And I used to drive up 295 Rhode Island to Mass, up to Foxborough. And there's lots of trees there, and nature helps a lot of times. So I would just connect to the trees. I'd be, of course, driving still, but I just a part of my consciousness would be looking at the formations of the trees, and I could connect to nature through and have that feeling, and see how long I could go on that drive feeling that. Of course, be careful. You're driving, so I used to do in my living room first. Like I just look at a plant, it's easier to connect to living things. So yeah, and a couple other quick tips, just look into the sky and look at the nothingness instead of the stars. A lot of times you can feel that feeling.
You used to talk about looking at the space in between the legs of the coffee table.
Right.
Where there's nothing.
Empty. Right. Look at empty space, pick anything that has an outline, and don't look at what, our eyes usually look at something behind it. If there's an open space, our eyes keep going until you get to my nose. It's like, no, look at the space right here. Just empty space, focus on that. You can, and you can feel a connection. You can do it with really anything, going out in nature or whatever. Don't label anything. If you look at a tree or a flower, don't be like, oh, look at the flower. Like, look at throw the label away. Pretend you don't know what it is. Pretend. You ever see a little kid look at a dragonfly or something? They're like, look at they don't know what it is. So they're like, it's the thing, because they don't have a word, And the reason they're so excited is because they're seeing the essence of it. They haven't minimized it into an object yet. It's more than an object. As soon as we label it, we take its essence right out and we minimize it into an object. So when we don't have labels, it's better, we can connect to the essence of the plant, the essence of the animal, the essence of anything. Everything's got moving electrons in it. So
Melanie says, hello, Glenn and Ben. I've recently discovered you guys and just wanted to say thanks. I'm working my way through your podcast, which are really helping me.
Excellent.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. We appreciate it. And, Glenn, I appreciate all of this. Do you have time for 2 more questions?
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
All right, cool. Number 1,
Do you have time?
I do. Yeah, I do actually.
Okay.
I have a little bit of extra time, so I figured I would just spend it chatting with you and helping people out. Let me scroll up. Okay. How big of a problem is being too honest with someone early in a relationship? And also, how do you get back from it if things have become awkward because of your honesty?
I don't think you can be too honest. I think you can be brutally honest, which is a problem. I think that's a technique that we should spend time. A lot of people should spend time working on, really, because it helped me tremendously. I decided that I was going to experiment with not telling any lies like 16 years ago, and the first year was amazing. And I really consider myself more honest than most. I mean, I was pretty honest. I was a mess prior to that, but I was the first one to say, hi, I'm a mess. So I was pretty honest, but it was just all the little white lies. And, hey, do you want to go out later? Yeah, maybe, that's a lie if I knew that I didn't want to go out later. So it was all that little stuff that I tried to tidy up. And what I noticed is that and I knew I couldn't be brutally honest because that's just plain rude. I had tried that when I was 18. So what I did is I started really paying attention. I realized that a lot of stuff was none of my business and I didn't need to put my input in. And there was a lot of times when I was quiet a lot more in that first year. I would just shut up, sometimes even making people ask me things twice because I wasn't sure how to handle it. I learned how to pause really well then. I learned how to just say, hey, when do you need to know by? so I could give a thoughtful answer. I learned how to give thoughtful answers. So it's really bringing consciousness to your speech and what's coming out of your mouth, so that's really helpful. If, hypothetically, if you were, I think it's very important to be honest in all aspects of a relationship all the time. But if you said something that you shouldn't have, then I think you follow up honesty with honesty. You go, hey, listen, I said this and I'm not sure that was appropriate, and you have a conversation about it. I think a lot of times we're too focused on making sure relationships go well instead of making sure we're true to the foundational pieces that make it go well. So, there's no means to an end. Just if you function in integrity and honesty and love, then your life is going to go well. You don't have to manipulate situations and cover people's feelings. Let's just say, we'll follow this through to the end. So let's say you said something you shouldn't have, and then you follow it up with honesty and you say, hey, listen, I want to have a talk about this because I may have said something that I shouldn't have. And then that blows up and you guys can't work through it. Then what you just found out is that you can't work through problems with that person. And perhaps you shouldn't be in a relationship with a human being that you can't work through problems with. Because guess what? If you stay in a relationship with them, there's going to be more problems, guaranteed. So, these are and if you can work it out, well, then guess what? You just found out that this was a person that you can work through problems with. Doesn't mean that the rest of the relationship's going to be ducky, but it is a feather in the cap.
Absolutely. And final question is a long one, so I'm not going to put it on screen, but let me scroll down to that. I feel like I have an opportunity because of extra time to really focus on a side business and build something over the next few years, but I'm not exactly sure what yet. I'm great with technology and would like to do something that I can work from home. How can I really evaluate what my skills are and my passion is while I'm and how can I really get in touch with me during the time that my mind is being ravaged by the change in my responsibilities and everyday life?
Well, if your mind's being ravaged, the first thing you got to do is center. The calmer you get inside, the easier things are going to be. I meditate daily and have for years, and I do a fair amount of consistent work on my spirituality. And before this, the COVID stuff started, I was kind of trying to navigate my change. What's my next in my business? My son's older. I've got more freedom. What's my next? And I kind of was asking stuff like that, like, what's my next? And, what do I want to do in my business? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And I was getting some ideas and some hints, but I was making very slow progress. And when this hit, I was like, Glenn, go inside. Part of COVID is to go inside. I need to go inside. I want to learn what I can from this unique situation. So I went inside and I tripled my meditation and self-work and really dove in. And the better my connection got, the stiller I got. All of a sudden my question became, instead of what's my next in my business, it became what's going to feed my soul. And as soon as I asked the right question, the answer was there. It was, as soon as when I started going, what's going to make me feel alive? What's going to feed my soul? It was, the answers came up with, well, Glenn, you've seen the piece called Travel, but you didn't know what to do with it. You need to travel, and you need to use that as an aspect of connecting with people on a in-person, community-based level, and experience different cultures. And it was like clear as day. And I was like, Yeah, you know, and it just felt so right. Why? Because I was clearer and I was asking better questions. So the clearer you get, the better questions you ask. Always ask self-empowering questions, you know, and follow that's the spiritual answer. The technical answer is follow what brings you joy. You know, follow what captures your interest. And look at StreamYard. Start streaming stuff. That's a really good at-home tech industry job to start. You can start.
No,
No,
don't do that.
so don't do that. No. So what you do is, you know, you can literally Google at-home IT careers or whatever like that. Or, you know, if you like graphic design jobs. And, you know, you look at all that stuff and you read little descriptions, and it's just gathering information stage. And when you come across something, you go, oh, that sounds interesting. You look at it a little more and you go, that really is interesting. When something captures your attention like that, that's a sign. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a sign that that's what you're going to do, but there's a reason why you read 5 things and one of them captures your attention. That's what you pay attention to, you know. So look, you know, something captures your attention, follow it, and then keep looking side to side. Is there something that branches off of this that's even more specifically what brings me joy? You know, and it's just really paying attention to what captures our attention is usually the easiest. And what we get excited about, what you lose time doing. You know, some people lose, like they're very artistic as far as like creation, like graphics and stuff. And they start doing it, and then all of a sudden they wake up and it's like 2 hours later. They're like, oh my God, I was supposed to go do something. That's a good sign. You know, other people have to do graphics and they go, I don't really like the graphic aspects, but when I did this aspect of it, I lost myself in it. That's what you should be doing. You know, that's the type of stuff. If you lose time doing something, that's a really good sign. If your energy level goes up like mine does as you do it, that's a good sign.
Can you believe it's been an hour?
Yeah, I can. It feels like 15 minutes.
All right. Well,
I should do this for a living.
You should. You should. I wish that we did this every morning for like an hour.
Oh my God.
Last question. Can you explain this?
Cool Toad. Is that what you want me to explain?
Yeah.
That was my nickname growing up. Toad.
Why?
All right. I tell people now. I used to keep it such a mystery because it was fun. I mean, I think it's in my yearbook write-up. Why do they call you Toad? Because so many people ask me. Thanks, Kate. It's just silly. Me and my friends were playing pitch, a card game, as freshmen over the summer, as we often did. And my friend got a perfect hand, ace, king, queen, jack, 10, 9. I had never seen one before. And we're like all yelling at him like he was a jerk, you know, for getting this wonderful hand, as boys do. And out of my mouth came, "You Toad man." And everybody was like, what?
What?
Yeah. And they're like, what the heck is that? And so the reason that it came flying out of my mouth was when I was a little kid, I used to play with my friend Keith Lyakainen, who had army men and stuff. And he used to have them go to war, and they had the frog men, and they used to fight the evil toad men. So in my brain as a little child, toad men were bad. So when it came flying out of my mouth without thinking, and everybody was like, what? And then no kidding, I had never seen a perfect hand dealt to somebody like that. And within a few hours, don't I get a perfect hand dealt to me? So then they all started calling me Toad Man and Toad. And then I hated Glenn at the time. So I was like, you can call me whatever you want. As long as it's not Glenn, I'll take it. So it stuck. And that was it. And there's people from 4 towns around, man, that didn't know me as anything other than Toad. It was
amazing. I
People
love it.
used to come up to my sister and they'd be like, "You look like somebody." They'd be like, "Glenn Ambrose?" Nope. Nope. And they'd come back, "I know who you look like. You look like Toad." She'd be like, "Yeah, that's..." A lot of people didn't know my real name.
Can everybody that's watching right now do what Kate did and just put a bunch of frog emojis?
Oh yeah.
Great. That would be wonderful. Glenn,
The toad's out of the bag.
the toad's out of the bag. That's gonna be your quote tomorrow. I'm gonna tell Allie to make that your quote.
Oh my
All right. So let's let everybody know where they can find you if they want more help or they want to work with you, or if they want to get this great book that's in my hand again because it just was next to me.
Yeah, well, go get the book on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. Just, you know, the easiest thing is go to glennambrose.com. Everything's there. Over 170 podcasts, probably 120 blogs, all kinds.
This is
There they go. I love it. Ribbit. Stay hoppy. Ribbit. So yeah, just go, email me, Glenn at glennambrose.com. Go check out my stuff. Dive, please. Can I leave you guys with one thing? Just dive into love. Because if you don't, you are going to be swept away. And it's the only thing that's going to make things better. So try to stay solution-based. Try to do self-work so you're able to stay centered and loving with all the noise around you, and be a beacon of love, and things will change. This is what it looks like when things are changing. It's noisy, it's ugly, it's painful, but it's pushing us towards change. So if we focus on solution and love, we're going to get there. If we get distracted by all the pain and the noise and the what it sounds and looks like, where it's not going to go well. So stay focused on love and be part of the solution. All right. Thanks, everybody. glennambrose.com. Be there, be square. We'll talk with you soon.